Hello and welcome to Foxy Roxy Reviews. Today we'll cover the important topic of changing documents in the United Kingdom. Today I really wanted to cover the topic of changing of documents because it's a significant thing. If you're going through a transition in where you envision yourself as going from one gender to another gender, then changing the documents is an important rite of passage. And I do feel here that changing of documents can be difficult in some situations. So for example, things like my driving license, I literally went and filled in a form, sent that off to the DVLA, and that was fairly straightforward to go and change the gender and the name, obviously because I did have a legal document saying I've announced I've changed of name and I basically refused all my other names in the past. Now, when I found to go for the passport, it was recommended to me that I do a gender recognition certificate. So these are people who are going through a transition, is they can actually apply for this, and part of the record when you go through to send in your documents is to show medically, obviously you are transitioning, and it is your intention to become that gender. And there's also other related documents just regarding proof of change of name, and just saying that it is something you've done over 2 years. They use the over 2 years, which is similar to when you go to medical transition in London. So that 2 year period is important as well when you go through to the medical side, as opposed to a DVLA and getting a driving license. I did find that the GRS certificate was a little bit more of an endeavour, because what you need to do is you need to go and get a bunch of documents together at once. So you need things like your proof of name change, any documents showing your change of name, and that'll be 2 years before that application. And you also need to get by a solicitor, get a document signed, your intention to change, and basically saying in a legal setting, this is who you're becoming, so you're making it official. And that all I sent off in January for a holiday I had in June. So I could go through and I could go across the border, or across the sea, in this case it was the channel. But what I would say is it was something that did take a little bit more time. It does need to be heard in a closed court. There is a legal aspect to that. Obviously, that has to be heard, so that all the evidence has to be heard. Now, I applied for it in January, and at that point, I didn't want to go for the passport at that point because I wanted to get all my official documents done, so when they do their checks, it'll be a little bit easier for the passport people to have a look to, obviously, to change that gender aspect. Now, what I would say is that when I did apply, that was in January, it was originally going to be heard in April. So I heard there can be quite a lot of people that want to go through and to get these documents heard. Now, when it came through to April, what happened was, what I didn't do is I provide documents within the last 2 years, not before. So because it wasn't before those dates, that's what's caused the issue. So that after April, they sent me a letter to say, please can you send some more documents because you need it before, not during that 2 year period. So I found some more, I sent them off again. And then it got heard in May, and which I was very grateful it got accepted. And then, of course, you can do things like you changing your birth certificates and stuff like that as well. The only thing I would say to this is a shame that no one looked at the documents earlier just to let me know of my mistake, because it could have potentially been heard in April, and then, of course, that would have just resolved that issue entirely and without delay. Especially if you are looking to travel and you don't necessarily have your documents all where you need to be, because obviously if you're going outside the country, I do feel you kind of got to plan in advance. And it does make me wonder whether there's a way which we could potentially work together a little bit more to obviously to help people to basically make sure that everything is correct and current to get through that system. And the other thing I think is worth saying is it did cost me around £300, right? Factored in, obviously getting the passport at short notice because it got delayed until May, and of course it was June that I was going away, so it got very tight for the timescales, so I couldn't do it on a normal application. The £140 then for the actual application to the gender recognition certificate and other sundries. For example, I needed to travel because I need to go to a solicitor outside of Cardiff because no one in Cardiff responded to me. It's actually one in Swansea that helped me out then. And I just think to some degree it does feel like you have to prove yourself, and it just, not only is disheartening because I do know you have to go through this official process and it does take time to go through and to make these changes, but it does kind of feel like you have to prove who you are and you know who you are. And it's a bit of a shame, but hopefully I know that there is a document that's been passed on to the government. I know that they were going back to do a review of that, and one of the things was regarding changes of documents and gender recognition and things like that. They haven't responded yet, but hopefully we can find a positive, productive way in the future, so then all the records can get changed and everything can get suitably resolved. But anyway, that's my almost story time, I'd argue, with a bit of a transgender spin on it. If you do have any video ideas, please let me know. Obviously, we are very grateful for anything we receive, because we're not just here just for certain news or for makeup. This is a transgender channel to cover everything. Obviously, we have done a binary series, but there's other things obviously we want to do in the future. But any ideas, let me know. You've got my Twitter here and you have my email. So you everyone please do let me know. Let me know what you want and let me know what you're looking for going forwards. I'm always grateful for any comments or feedback that I get. But as always, let me know and please subscribe.